We've seen stories week after week about politicians, now at the senior-most levels, receiving violent threats at an increasing rate. Aside from being a very serious safety concern, the threat of violence could chill free speech. What concrete solutions are there to bring back decency in public discourse? And how do we account for the role of social media in driving hostility in politics, given that algorithms are skewed to deliver content to us that outrage us?
Yeah, Yaara, you look a lot at technology and its impact on our lives and social media, and there's no doubt people have more access to other people, and the conversation, as Sanjay pointed out, is much more heated.
But I think we need to kind of understand, as Sanjay put really well, that social media platforms, and big tech in particular, they do have algorithms that are designed to keep you on their platform for as long as they can, really, in order to sell you things and push ads to you. And it doesn't matter what the content is that you're looking at. It's not about social cohesion. They don't care what you're watching. So long as you go down this rabbit hole with them and they can keep you there for as long as they can, then that's the sort of model that they have. And we've been hearing from whistleblowers like Frances Haugen, the Facebook whistleblower who testified to US Congress, that companies like Facebook put profits over humans. And until we regulate these big tech companies and put stops on how these algorithms are basically designed to keep us there online, no matter what it is that we're watching, and creating this sort of outrage culture, then I think we're going to continue to see these problems on the streets play out.
Andrew Barr, you have dealt with this personally, haven't you?
Yes, a few fixated individuals. It's amplified in social media. And yes, it's confronting. It does lead you to perhaps think twice about how you approach your job. I guess I've had to learn to be a lot more resilient. You need a thick skin in politics, full stop. But things have crossed lines that are just not acceptable. Not just for me, but for...
Is this threats of physical violence as well?
Oh, yes, and I guess fixation, stalking, some behaviour that's pretty unsavoury. I haven't experienced the sorts of things I've seen some of my state and territory colleagues in Victoria, Daniel Andrews and Mark McGowan in WA, and Mike Gunner in New South Wales, in the Northern Territory. It has just been an extraordinarily confronting period, and we just need to be unequivocal in saying this is not acceptable in Australia, and just calling it out, no ifs and buts, or else I fear we're on a path that we've seen in the US and the UK, and that's not a place that Australia wants to be. And it happens to politicians on all sides of politics, and I don't think it's good for our democracy, and it's certainly not good for particularly the families of the politicians.
Michael Jensen, you've talked a lot about the need for kindness, or to be gentle, gentle in disagreement, kindness to those who disagree with you. That is not our age, is it?
No, and it's exactly as Yaara says. It's the social media platforms. They get money from whipping up the debate. Trump was the best thing for Twitter, even though Twitter pretends to be woke. It's not, because it loved the right wing. It actually really loved that kind of tension and the extremists. It really profits out of that. It would help if politicians would tax them. That would be a good start to kind of properly tax these big surveillance capitalists. But we can do something too, and that is we shouldn't just rely on governments to do it. We, the Australian people, should be more active and engaged and in our political system, in our political debate, and actually produce the kind of conversation we want to see happening. Because most people do want a more gentle, a more kind of conversation.
That's why we have Q&A.
Stan, can I just... I mean, I don't disagree with anything that's been said. I'm just going to put a little positive note in here, possibly, and it's a little anecdote.
Please do.
Two of my daughters have actually just taken themselves off social media because they've just looked at the tone of it. and have just decided, of their own accord, without having any conversations with us, they just decided it was not the sort of tone and the way that they wanted to engage, and it was all consuming, and they actually took themselves off it. So I say hats off.
Is that something that a lot of you are doing? Is that something that a lot of you are doing right now? Put your hands up if you've taken yourself off social media. Hands up. Oh. There's a few. There's a few. Can be addictive though, can't it?
I just use it for, I've got rules about it. So I use it to share information about things that we're doing at work, to connect people to ideas. It's always positive and it's always information, and I don't engage with negative. And I just ignore it. But I just think it's just a reminder that we can get caught up in it, but there are people out there who've got their antennas up. There are kids out there who are figuring this stuff out as well.
It's worth saying to the media as well that that I've seen more discussion of extreme views, and the more you give them oxygen, the more they have power. And I think there's a way in which the media has a role to starve the oxygen out of extreme voice.
So sometimes they can drive it underground and make it even more virulent, though, of course. Jason, we've seen in recent times Jackie Lambie's number, for instance, being handed out on social media. Should there be consequences for things like that?
Absolutely.
What consequences?
Well, the e-safe... this parliament, like Australia, leads the world in regulation of big tech, in particular around this information stuff. So the e-safety commissioner has the capacity to issue orders without having to go to court, so immediately take down orders. So things like Jackie Lambie's number being taken down,
and for Malcolm Roberts, there should be consequences.
And is that what he did? Is it?
Well,
is that the person?
That's what we've been. That's
well, in my personal view, absolutely, because the real issue of the 21st century, or I think one of the biggest issues in the 21st century, is going to be our right to our information and our privacy. Because if we are anything, it is who we are. And yes, we've shared all that, or a lot of people have shared a lot of that on social media, but we didn't give it away, and we should have a right to reclaim it. And if that isn't done in this century, then we will be looking at a very different species by the end of the 21st century.